Johnny Carson, one of the most influential figures in television history, spent more than 3 decades stepping into America's living rooms with his unmistakable charm, razor-sharp wit, and effortless composure, earning his place as the legendary king of late-night television and shaping the careers of countless entertainers who followed him. Yet when he passed away in 2005, something about the way his funeral was handled left many people quietly puzzled. Instead of the grand, celebrity-filled memorial one might expect for a man of his stature, Carson's farewell was the exact opposite. Strikingly private, almost hidden from public view. There was no televised special, no open service, no crowded Hollywood tribute. In fact, the public didn't even learn that the funeral had taken place until it was already over. For someone who had spent so much of his life in the spotlight, the quietness surrounding his final moments stood out as both surprising and deeply revealing. What many fail to acknowledge is that this silence was entirely in line with who Carson truly was. Despite his fame, he had always been intensely private, rarely giving interviews outside of his show, seldom appearing at public events, and keeping even those who worked closely with him at a respectful distance from his personal life. When the cameras were off, he retreated into a world of his own design, one shielded from the constant glare of fame, and his funeral reflected that same sense of guardedness. Only a very small circle of family members attended. There were no leaked photos, no paparazzi staking out the event, and no celebrities stepping forward to give emotional speeches. Nothing scandalous occurred. It was simply that nothing was shared, and in an industry where nearly everything becomes public knowledge, that level of privacy was almost unheard of. Some speculate that the understated nature of his farewell was Carson's final act of subtle humor, a quiet twist from a man who had always kept audiences guessing, while others interpret it as a reflection of the complicated emotional landscape he navigated throughout his life. The divorces, the guarded relationships, and the protective barrier he built after decades under scrutiny. Carson didn't want a spectacle, applause, or headlines. He wanted peace, and he orchestrated his exit in a way that honored his desire for a life lived on his own terms. One of the most overlooked aspects of his passing is the revelation that he had quietly donated millions of dollars to charity without ever seeking recognition. A final gesture made entirely out of sight, consistent with the private generosity he demonstrated throughout his later years. In the end, the most significant thing about Johnny Carson's funeral is not some hidden drama, but the profound simplicity of a man choosing to leave the world with the same understated dignity he worked so hard to protect in life. His farewell wasn't defined by what happened, but by what didn't. And in that silence lies the truest reflection of who Johnny Carson really was.